Since changing the name of the Eclectic Americana Friday morning drive time radio show on January 20th, 1989 to the Bushwhackers Breakfast Club, the DJs in the collective have strived to entertain and inform our listeners. Airing from 6 to 9 a.m. Pacific at KZSC 88.1 FM in Santa Cruz, California, the Bushwhackers usually have 2 interviews a week, each airing for about half an hour. We're not afraid to ask questions or admit that we don't know something, and we don't mind taking deep dives or following a tangent as we get into how sausage is made in local, county, or state politics, or learning about things going on in our community, or discussions with artists. Our interviews are not scripted and are produced by myself, Dangerous Dan Orange. Let's see if we get Tom Brezsny. He's still on the line. Tom, you still with me?
I am.
Outstanding. So, Tom, I know you through your column, your I guess it's an advert column. There might be a word for it in journalism, in the back of the Good Times every week. We always start, Tom, with, what brought you to Santa Cruz? When did you get here?
Oh, my gosh. I got here on August 22nd, 1978.
You know it to the day?
I do know the day. It's etched in my memory. I bought a 6-pack of beer in Gilroy and put a couple of dollars of gas in the truck, and I kind of rolled into Santa Cruz on fumes, as it were,
and never left.
I never left. Yeah, it's home.
So what brought you to Santa Cruz in the first place?
Well, I'd like to say it was a janitorial position at India Joe's restaurant, but really I just came because I didn't know where else to go.
Outstanding. And now you find yourself, okay, your column, the tagline of your email has you as VP of Experience for the Coastal Group, but I also believe that you're with Sereno Realty, or that is your company. Tell us your gig now.
My what?
What are you doing in town now?
Well, I have been in real estate for the last 33 years. I currently am vice president for Christie's International Sereno Real Estate Group on the coast here in California. And I mentor a number of young agents and write a weekly column and try and help as many clients as I can.
So you've been in real estate in Santa Cruz for 33 years. Let's do the math, folks. What's that, 1989? You were here right in time for the earthquake?
Yeah, in fact, I was studying for my real estate license when the earthquake struck.
And, and there was a fair amount of destruction and rebuilding and whatnot. So from a real estate perspective, looking at kind of what I view as, insane prices where, a shack on the west side costs more than a mansion in the mid-continent. What's your perspective, having strapped in and ridden this bucking bronco for 33 years?
Oh gosh, what a trip! What a crazy story! How many individual amazing stories have I observed along the way? We're working very intimately with people going through their life transitions. Different perspectives. One perspective would be that I've had front row seats for the division of wealth in the country. It's pretty incredible to see the kinds. Just when you thought that houses couldn't cost any more than they do, they do. It's been a wild ride. It's pretty amazing. One of the things that that's somewhat sad about this is that there's an accelerating cycle of people that are moving out of Santa Cruz and moving into Santa Cruz. I'd say that 60 to 70% of the people selling are going elsewhere or have just passed away, so they're definitely going elsewhere. And probably 80 to 85% of the buyers that are buying in Santa Cruz are coming from elsewhere. most notably Santa Clara and San Mateo County, but also other parts of the state and the country.
Gotcha. There was a lengthy article in the New York Times this last week on kind of the hollowing out of the middle class. The wealthier parts of cities get wealthier. The less wealthy parts get less wealthy. And there's very little in the middle anymore. And I guess Santa Cruz is probably just a microcosm of that.
Yeah, it's not any different here. I think it's a reflection. I think it's happening everywhere in the country. Maybe one could think of Silicon Valley as being somewhat of a rarefied air, and that's maybe exacerbated in this neck of the woods.
So, Tom,
go ahead.
Tom Brezsny, you're in real estate. You're not in politics, but it's fair game. I'm going to ask you anyway. We hear about the state giving guidance to the city and the county that we need to have X more housing units, and the city, is working on putting in these 5-story buildings and such, and trying to build out and whatnot. If the city does, and it's going, I believe it's going to be on the ballot in November. The Our Libraries, Our Future, which wants the library to stay in its old location and not build this new building with affordable housing in it. Bonnie and I were wondering if the city does not build the number of units that the state is indicating needs to be built. Is it a mandate? Does the state step in and override the city? What is the enforcement mechanism for the state, looking to cities and communities to add housing?
I would imagine that it's leveraging state funds for other projects. So that it would probably be enforced by withholding other monies that might come our way from the state budget.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we're going to be talking to Mark Stone and John Laird about that, and I keep hoping that we can get our mayor to agree to an interview on Bushwhackers, and we'll talk about that as well. So, Tom, your brother, is it your brother who writes the horoscope weekly in the Good Times?
Yes, it is.
And when you picked up that 6-pack in Gilroy and put a couple of bucks of gas in your pickup truck and rolled into Santa Cruz on August 22nd, 1978, was he riding shotgun?
No, he was already here. He was already living in a small garage off of, Rodeo Gulch, right behind where Trader Joe's is today.
Gotcha. And unfortunately, he didn't buy it at the time because he probably could have picked it up for a little bit more than the 6-pack and the gas you put in the pickup truck, and it's probably worth $1 gazillion right now. But the Brezsny brothers are both in Santa Cruz in 1978. So how did you get from rolling into town to getting in 1978 to getting into real estate in 1989? Was there in fact a bussing tables at Trader Joe's somewhere in there?
Well, it was somewhat of a circuitous route, to say the least. Between some stints in the old St. George Hotel, on off nights, maybe some couch surfing, maybe a few nights slept in my truck, and sharing that garage with Rob. Rob and I were co-janitors at the India Joe's restaurant downtown. And somehow I matriculated from the janitorial position to the prep cook position, to the dishwasher position, to the cook position. And suddenly, somewhere in there around 1981, I became a partner in India Joe's. So,
you were a business partner with Joe Schultz?
I was. Joe and I were definitely partners.
Wow. Talk about needing seatbelts and a 5-point harness. You're because Joe.
You know Joe.
Well, Joe's a genius in the kitchen, and he put together food, and he was always welcoming. But the tales of the business side, or kind of the other things going on, the mercurial aspect of it. So I just imagine being a business partner must have been an adventure.
Well, it was in some ways we complemented each other, although that's probably an overstatement. Yeah, Joe is a genius. The best meals I've ever had in my life are meals that he cooked. He taught me a lot, but the other things were my role. There was a bit of a organizational vacuum, shall we say? So, which was just a place that I could step into, and the rest is history. I'm thankful for that opportunity, and it made all the difference in my life.
And was it the India Joe's up by the clock tower that had that massive rock roll through the kitchen during the earthquake?
No, that was the crepe place.
That's right. Okay, that's right. That was the crepe place. Thank you. Okay, 33 years. It's a little hazy in memory, so I appreciate that. So you're India Joe's business partner, and decide you need a side hustle. And wow, look, houses are expensive in Santa Cruz. They're selling for $130,000. I bet I could go into real estate.
Well, that's one alternative history, but I actually sold my shares of India Joe's in 1985, and went on I went into advertising and public relations work, and also did the food column in the Good Times for quite a while. And then, long about the beginning of 1989, decided to seek other employment, and real estate seemed like a good idea at that point in time. There were some things that attracted me to it, and I fortuitously ran into Steve Caron driving on Highway 1. I saw somebody come up in my rearview mirror and kind of shake their fist at me, and I pulled over, and it actually was Steve Caron with Caron Properties, and he was just in the process of starting a brokerage in 1989, and so I don't know. It was something was shining on me, and I joined this brokerage after I got my license, and it's been a great career.
And Christie's, an auction house, has somehow entered the picture by either buying Sereno or buying Caron property. Somehow getting from two local folks on Highway 1 to a major international auction house owning a real estate business in town.
Well, interestingly, it's the other way around. I joined the Sereno Group in 2013, and after I had worked at Monterey Bay Properties for a number of years, and recently Sereno Group, which had become the largest independent brokerage in Northern California, we partnered with a firm in the Midwest called At Properties, and together we have purchased the Christie's international real estate brand. So we're both owners and affiliates of Christie's International, which is a 400-year-old brand, similar to what, but probably more prestigious than Sotheby's is.
But so did Christie's get into real estate and then realize that maybe buying and selling homes was different from, selling a Chagall painting for $16 million, and they realized that their skill set didn't quite fit buying and selling real estate or acting as real estate agents, and they wisely decided to, get out of the picture and sell it?
Well, that would be one story. Another might be, I think real estate's changing incredibly quickly. Like everything else in the world, the speed is frenetic these days, and digital is influencing a lot of the ways that real estate works. I think that the auction house was a separate arm of Christie's. They're connected, but also separate. And Christie's International Real Estate was in need of some new blood and people that could take it to the next stage of this digital revolution that we're in, and so it was available to be purchased.
Gotcha. Okay, now let's jump, folks. If you're just joining us, it's Tom Brezsny, local man about town, former busboy, cook, partner of Joe Schultz at India Joe's, couch surfer in the late 70s and early 80s, now in real estate. Tom Brezsny, I read recently that there was a law recently passed in California, and it was SB, and I know it was 3 digits, but I don't remember them. And the law says something that if you own a property, you can subdivide it and put 2 primary residences, and each primary residence can have an accessory dwelling unit, an ADU. Am I getting this correct?
Pretty close. It's SB 9 was the state bill.
Okay, SB 9. Thanks.
Yeah, passed last year. It allows you. It basically is designed to get rid of single-family zoning. So, if you have a standard lot in Santa Cruz, you can split that lot, and then you can build a duplex on each half of the parcel.
So does the city planning department, which I'm sure, talk about telling stories. I'm sure you've got stories of dealing with the planning department. Can the city planning department or county planning department veto it or throw roadblocks? Or now that this is passed, this is the law of the land?
It's supposed to be statutory rather than discretionary. So technically, as long as somebody meets the stated requirements of the bill, they should be able to go through the process and do those splits and build those units rather than having a discretionary ability on the part of the planner to, just basically decide whether that's an appropriate project or not. It's still in its early stages, so it's yet to be fully tested. I've seen a couple of proposals and projects where people are beginning to utilize the tenets of SB 9, but I think it's still early. So it's going to take a lot of adjustment by the county and city planning process. So I think as more of these projects come on, it'll encourage more people to undertake them. And it's about creating density to accommodate those growth numbers that you referenced earlier.
And this is probably one of the few hopes we have of actually retaining some, let's just call it income spread of the people who live in Santa Cruz. I don't know if that would be, affordable housing or what would make it more affordable, but it sounds like if every lot could have a duplex on it, that is one way to add housing and housing density and kind of get around the, not in my backyard zoning fights that we've seen.
Yeah, that's the theory. We'll see. I think, it's you and I are probably both of a generation that's closer connected to the NIMBY aspect. Aging baby boomers fit right into that niche.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah, I had you pegged. Your memory is too good about the 1970s. It appears that the millennial generation and those younger are much more likely to embrace a YIMBY approach and to say, hey, people need houses. We need houses. Why not create some? I think we made a certain pact with the future when we decided to create open space, beautiful open space around all of Santa Cruz and Santa Cruz County. I had the opportunity to hike the new National Monument lands up on the North Coast between here and Davenport the other day. It's just gorgeous, But they're, how do you preserve that land as open space at the same time that we accommodate to some reasonable degree, the people that live here and want to live here.
So, Tom
So,
Brezsny, you said that if you own a standard lot, the statute allows you or requires the city to allow you to put two duplexes on it. What's a standard lot?
it's not a standard lot in the city of Santa Cruz is 5,000 square feet, 50 by 100. But actually, it's not limited to 5,000 square feet. If you own a lot, I think there's some minimum where a parcel probably can't be less than 1,000 square feet or 1,500 square feet. But basically, if you own a lot, you should be able to split that lot and create two lots, and on each of those lots, build a duplex.
So around the corner from me on the Upper West Side, there's a person who has 0.48 of an acre with a single 3-bedroom, 2-bath house on it. How dense could you, if one were to win the lottery tomorrow and choose to spend your winnings on purchasing that property and proceed successfully through escrow with an all-cash offer, and you end up with that property, what kind of housing density could you put on that?
Well, any person these days, if they have a house on a lot, they can have a house, a ADU, and what's called a junior ADU, which is a accessory dwelling that's connected to the main house. So in that instance, it sounds to me like that person could split his or her lot, and on the lot with the house on it, they could put a ADU and a junior ADU, and then on the vacant part of the lot that they had split off as a separate parcel, they could build either the same configuration or they could build a duplex.
Well, no wonder they're asking a truly impressive amount of money. Tom Brezsny joining us here on the Bushwhackers Breakfast Club. We have the KPFA Morning News coming up with kind of expanded headlines coming up at 8 o'clock. So, Tom, you enter real estate in 1989. There's an earthquake. You stop couch surfing, no longer shacking up in the St. George Hotel, and you enter into this extended period of real estate where you see, I don't know how many staff meetings you had in 33 years when you start by saying, I can't believe how expensive that house is that sold. And with perspectives and tales of sort of things that are going on. Yet it appears that the insanity of the last 10 years, and I'm going to paraphrase your most recent column in the Good Times, it appears the insanity of the last 10 years may be cooling off because as the Fed increases the federal funds rate, interest rates on mortgages go up, and that cools the market a little bit. Are we returning to some semblance of sanity?
Well, I don't think anybody knows what sanity and insanity is anymore. We're returning. The two words I would use to describe what's happening is shift happens, and we're in a period of shift or adjustment. And so I think that the craziest of the crazy that we experienced probably at the peak of in February and March has cooled. So I think prices are flattening out a bit, and it depends on your perspective. It's for a seller whose expectations were ratcheted so high, if they have to sell their house, for 10% less, to them, it's a terrible first world angst, and they're going to go kicking and screaming, having to give up, some of their more recent gains, which were arguably unreasonable. So think of it as people, like in the stock market, people have to give back a little bit of their gain. And that's kind of where we're at now. The median price in Santa Cruz in June was $1,325,000, which by any historical standards is still crazy and off the charts. It reached its peak in March. Median price was almost $1,600,000. So half the houses sold for above $1,600,000 in the month of March.
And these are not just the mansion-like properties that we see scattered around the perimeter of the city of Santa Cruz, but these are also just your, I hate to say it, standard 3-bedroom, 2-bath, so, east side or west side, that half of them were above 1.6 million?
Yes.
Wow.
Figure, just kind of a rule of back to the napkin, price per square foot in those properties that closed in March was roughly $950 a square foot, which is, it's so locationally driven in Santa Cruz County. If you have a little surf shack down in Pleasure Point, that's 1,000 square feet, that might sell for $2 million or $2,000 a square foot.
Yikes. So you were talking about kind of the peak, the craziest of the crazy, February and March. That was when we were hearing tales of all cash offers, within, pretty much as soon as a property listed, all cash offers, and not just all cash, but 5 or 10 offers on a property. That insanity, that crazy of crazy, is cooling off, as you're saying.
I think it might be. It's just another version of it, or a toned down version of it. So the things that are most desirable in the best locations that are presented and prepared well are still selling with multiple offers, but instead of 10, maybe it's 4 or 5. Instead of the house that might have gotten 4 or 5 offers, in February, they're getting 2 or 3, or in some cases, none. And so there are some of the less desirable properties are starting to sit longer and be on the market longer. And typically, the longer a house is on the market, the less it's going to sell for, and the less likely it's going to have multiple offers. So at the very, very peak, I'll give you an example. We had a property in La Selva Beach in February. We got 32 offers on it in the first 4 or 5 days, and it was bid up from $1,499,000 to $2.3 million, and that was just astounding. It was a nice home, and it was presented well, and it was marketed well, but it was something. I've been doing this for 33 years. I never expected that. It shocked me.
So, Tom Brezsny, local real estate, are you looking forward to representing more duplexes and more density in Santa Cruz, even though the prices are going to be hopefully, lower or half of those insane prices, so that, someone of middle-class means has a hope of qualifying for a mortgage so that they can buy it, move in, and raise a family?
Absolutely. After all this time, it's still an incredibly fun and exciting to represent a first-time buyer. It's great to represent a young family moving to Santa Cruz. It's, I think it's healthier in the long run for the community to have just a spectrum of people living here, a more balanced group of homeowners and ages, and all parts of the demographic spectrum. I think things are going to get boring if it starts to look like Los Altos.
Gotcha. Well, Tom Brezsny, you've got your advert column at the end of the Good Times. Your brother's got his horoscope and closer to the front of the Good Times. Does Rob ever ask? Does he ever bounce his horoscope thoughts off you?
With Rob's column, it's all a little interesting and vague. But I'll notice on occasion that he appears to be writing to me and giving me real estate advice. He never comes out and says it. I have noticed, whatever the Mercury and retrograde thing is, it is absolutely shows up in real estate. It's the full moon thing is absolutely shows up in real estate, and so I don't know how to explain it, but it, I notice the parallels all the time.
Got it. Well, Tom Brezsny, thank you so much for joining us on the Bushwhackers Breakfast Club and giving us kind of your perspective after arriving in Santa Cruz on August 22nd, 1978, and 33 years in real estate. We appreciate you joining us here, and we too hope that we end up with a broader mix of income and families and age groups to help our community grow, thrive, and survive. So thank you so much for joining us. It's KZSE Santa Cruz. We got the KPFA Morning News coming up in just a minute. Thanks, Tom Brezsny, for joining us on Bushwhackers. You've been listening to a podcast from an interview on the Bushwhackers Breakfast Club on KZSE 88.1 FM in Santa Cruz, California. This interview has been produced by myself, Dangerous Dan Orange. KZSE is a student-run college and community non-commercial educational radio station broadcasting from the UC Santa Cruz campus. You can stream KZSE online at kzse.org. Thanks for listening.